Hi there, welcome to this section. In the last section, you have learned to install matplotlib along with various dependencies, and you have also learned few commonly used pip commands, right? In this section, you will learn to set up Jupyter Notebook to practice coding in Python. I know you might have few questions related to why Jupyter Notebook, what is Jupyter Notebook, and why we are preferring Jupyter Notebook for this course. You might be familiar with Jupyter Notebook or you might not be. In case if you are not, then no need to worry. I'll be guiding from scratch, and by the end of this tutorial you will be familiar with Jupyter Notebook and you can start using it comfortably. In order to work efficiently with any programming language you might be knowing, you need an IDE. Alright, IDE stands for Integrated Development Environment, which is nothing but a collection of compiler or interpreter, a code editor, as well as a debugger. All of them packaged together in one software is called an IDE. Generally, IDE support multiple languages. When it comes to choose IDE for Python, there are numerous options such as VS Code from Microsoft, Anaconda Navigator, Spider IDE, and PyCharm from JetBrains, and many more. Every IDE has its own advantage, applications, and limitations. One of the IDE is preferred over other for certain kind of applications, right? Although I'm not going to discuss each one of them in detail, but certainly I will discuss about Jupyter Notebook in this section. Jupyter Notebook is an open source, lightweight, and browser-based IDE. So there are three terms. Open source, you might be understanding. It's freely available and developed by a community of developers. So anyone can use it without paying anything. Lightweight IDE. So lightweight means it doesn't consume lot of memory of your system. It doesn't occupy much resources. So as far as the resource side is concerned, there are certain IDEs such as PyCharm or Anaconda. Once you launch them, it occupies a large portion of your memory. Jupyter Notebook doesn't consume so much of memory, and on top of it, it is a browser based IDE. So there is no installation happen. Exactly, there is no exe file. You can consider Jupyter Notebook as a web application which runs on your browser. You can write your code and get the results. In fact, the Jupyter is named after the three programming language which are Julia, Python, and Ruby. If you can see the highlighted letters, it forms the name Jupyter. In the beginning, Jupyter Notebook only support these three languages, but as of now it has grown over to support more than 40 programming languages. Before getting into the installation process, let's understand some of the prominent key features of Jupyter Notebook which makes Jupyter Notebook a compelling IDE for this course. Here are the features of Jupyter Notebook and why we are preferring Jupyter Notebook over other IDE for this course. So let's understand one by one. The first one is open source and easy to set up. It is open source, that means no restriction on the usage. You can download and install it without any license, without paying anything, right? And easy to set up. We will see the setup part in a while, right? The second one is code and results simultaneously on the same page. So what it means, exactly when you write your code, the next line of your code is the result. Generally you can see in REPL, right? In Python interactive environment, you write some line and you get the result very next line. It is also in the same approach, but you can write a bunch of lines together and then run them together as a cell. That particular block is called cell. You can write all the information and next to the cell you will get the result. Don't worry, we will see everything in action, so everything will be clear to you in case if you are not aware of Jupyter Notebook. The third one is flexible and interactive on browser. Flexible means it can be operated on any platform and on any browser, so it doesn't depend much on the system resources or some of the things. It's kind of web app, so it's portable and flexible. As well as it is interactive because you are executing the code and getting the results, and you can do much in terms of interacting with the code. You will see them in the rest part of this course. The next one is code and explanation together on the same page. You can write the code and get the result. Additionally, you can also document your code. For certain function, you can describe the function like in the layman sentence so that other developer or other people who are going to use this code may understand. It is similar to the comment in Python, but it has a broad meaning sense where you mark that cell as markdown, and that text will not be executed in the code, and you can use it as a reference to understand what exactly this next code is doing. So just for the documentation purpose. And the last one, it's very important because you never want to mess up the file once you have created, and Jupyter Notebook is such a wonderful piece where everything is documented, like the code, explanation and the result on the same page. Jupyter Notebook allow you to export this in multiple format such as PDF, even the Python script, HTML, JSON and many more. These all feature makes Jupyter a prominent and compelling IDE for this course. I hope you agree with me. Now let's get into the installation part of Jupyter Notebook. Installation of Jupyter Notebook is simple and straightforward. You have to fire up your command prompt. You can fire up your command prompt by pressing Window plus R and then write CMD and then hit enter. You will see a screen like this. Since the Jupyter Notebook is installed in my system, so I don't have to worry, but I will just tell you how to install Jupyter Notebook using pip. I already have discussed about pip in the last section. You can refer in case you need. So we'll start with the installation process. Installation is pretty simple. Just write pip install and then Jupyter. Make sure you write the correct spelling, Jupyter, and then space notebook and hit enter. Since it is already installed, it will say requirement satisfied and the package is already on your machine. But in case if it is not on your machine, this command will install Jupyter Notebook along with the dependency if any. So you don't have to bother about all the dependencies. Once you write pip install Jupyter Notebook, everything will be installed in the background. Okay, I hope you understand the installation part. It was pretty simple. So we have installed Jupyter Notebook in our system. Now it's time to get started with Jupyter Notebook. There are two prominent methods with which you can open Jupyter Notebook. The first one is via command prompt and the second one is via creating a batch file. We'll see both of them in this section. Let's say we wanted to create a Jupyter Notebook in one of our directory, which is, let's say, here. So I am interested in creating all my files here. I wanted to use this as a default location. So simply browse to the location and click in the browse section and write CMD. So it will open a command prompt and the location is by default this location, current location, right? Here you have to write Jupyter and space notebook, simple, and hit enter. This will open up your browser, whichever is your default browser. In my case it is Chrome, so it will open Chrome browser, and if you see the address closely, it is localhost. The port is 8888 4 times 8 /3. So Jupyter Notebook starts its own server and you can see the detail of the server here. So this is the server and you can see the localhost and the token ID and everything, and it is running up the server, and as a web application it is displaying on your browser. So this is the first method. We will see how to create the file in the later section. As of now, we have seen the first method, how to start Jupyter Notebook. Now we will see the second method of starting a Jupyter Notebook via creating a batch file. And the second method is creating a batch file. So we can create a batch file and keep it anywhere we want. But for the convenience, I have kept it in the same location where we want to store all those files. So what is the content of this batch file? I will just right click and edit. So as you can see here, you have to write Jupyter space notebook space hyphen hyphen then notebook hyphen dir, short form, equal to the location where you want to store those files, right? and you can save this as a bat file. Initially you create a text file and write this code and save it as a bat file .bat file, right? And then close it. Now you can open this one by double clicking the bat file. Double click the bat file, it will again do the same thing. It will open up a browser and same local host with the port number. Now it has changed the port number because that port is already occupied. So it has created the same directory localhost, and the port number is changed because that port might not be available right now, and /tree. So the structure is same, and you can see the same file, right? Not notebook.bat, because this is the directory which I have chosen, and all the files are shown under this directory. So I hope you understand both these methods. You can use any one of them. Both are doing the same thing. Based on your convenience, which way you want to fire up your Jupyter Notebook. Now once you are in the Jupyter Notebook, you need to create a file. I'm not talking about uploading a file right now in this section. We will start from scratch. So we'll create a Python file. So you can create a new file by clicking over new, and then either you choose Python 3 default, or you can choose the current version which is installed in your system. So I'll be preferring this one because this is the exact version I have installed in my system. So click on this one. So it will open up a new tab and with the untitled heading, right? So no name has been defined. So we can change the name to anything, like for example we'll do test1 and rename it. So this is now changed to test1. Every time you do any changes in the Jupyter Notebook, it will create an aipython checkpoint. You can see here it has created a file test1.ipynb, and as well as it has also created an .ipynb underscore checkpoint. So this is basically a backup file or auto saved version of it. You have already created test1. I'll just give you a little background, so we do not need to discuss everything here. As and when we progress through this course, you will get to understand all the commands. So it's not necessary to understand all of them at once. We will take each step at a time. Alright. So this is called cell, and this is input defined here, right? You can write anything. For example, print hello everyone. I will not write hello world because that's common, and there's no point, there's no harm in writing that. Okay, and then in order to execute this one, we have to press shift and then enter. So this will give you a result very next to the right input cell. This completely is called a cell. In the same cell you will write your code and get the result, and you can create as many cells by just pressing shift enter, and then in case if you want to delete, you can delete it by cut, right? Second feature is you can mark down a cell. So what is mean by mark down? So suppose I want to put some comment. Let's say this is just a comment, right? And I don't want to execute this code. So I'll simply select the cell. This is already selected. Go to the cell from the menu, go to the cell, and then choose cell type as markdown. So when you select cell type as a markdown, this will not be executed by the Python interpreter. It is just like a comment in conventional Python program, and you can press shift and enter. This will be just as a comment and it will not be executed, and you can write. This is pretty much helpful while documenting your code or documenting a specific part of your code. In this way you can create a notebook. This is why they have named it Jupyter Notebook. It is like your code will be there, your result will be there, your comment will be there. All the illustrations can be available on the single page. This is one of the advantages while you are working with data science project or kind of visualization. You will feel the importance of Jupyter Notebook when you are working with data science project, or especially the visualization. Core theme of this course is to visualize the data through matplotlib. So this is going to be very helpful in our whole journey. I don't want to discuss everything in this tutorial, in this single tutorial, because this will be too much of information and you may not able to grab. The better way would be, as and when we progress through this course, we get to know each functions in detail, or whatever is required, we get to know all those functions in detail, right? So that's it for this section. Thank you for joining with me in this session. I will see you in the next one.